Action Research 1, and we're fixing to slide right into Action Research 2. I probably will put these videos in both courses so that you can have them to review when you're in 2, and this last video and maybe another one will actually get into the things that you'll do not in Research 1, but so that you'll have the big picture of how all these things work. What we're going to look at next is data analysis and action research. So we talked about in the last video collecting all that data and all the different things you need to be aware of and think of, and be considerate of your students in doing so. So now, what do you do with the data that you've worked so hard to collect in a dependable, accurate, reliable, and correct manner? Data analysis involves reviewing the data while it's being collected and attempting to synthesize or make sense out of what you're observing. Much of what has been written about analysis and action research mirrors strategies used in the qualitative research, although the researcher should always remember that appropriate analysis will depend on the question that you're asking and the method of your data collection. It will be different if it was set up to be interviews or observations, and remember, you're doing that triangulation, so you're bringing 2 and hopefully 3 different things to give you that same, or give you the information that fits together so you have the big picture. Action research data analysis has been described as a search for patterns or trends in the data to answer 2 questions. What is the story told by the data, and what might explain the story, or what factors influenced the story? The action research analysis process has been compared to trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle without the box that shows the completed picture, and some pieces may be missing also. That makes it sound hard and complicated, and that's not the case. It's just trying to make sure that you understand that there is a major task to this. It's not just getting the information and saying, oh well, there it is. You've got to figure out now, what does that mean? You might do some coding to break down some of the data into manageable segments so that you kind of have particular groupings of what you've gathered. For example, in the case of Mr. Rodriguez trying to teach social studies to those students, he interviewed the students and he coded their comments. He tried to make sense of the comments and coded them in a way so that he could summarize into categories kind of their answers. The coding continues when he tries to collapse the many categories into fewer categories, just making broader umbrellas, and then coding them even further and further. There's all kinds of levels of coding, and I'm not going to go into the details of that right now. I don't know for sure if we'll need it even later, but for right now I just want you to think about data analysis kind of in general for action research specifically. The stages of analysis, there are 2 stages, description and sense making. During the description stage, you review the data and you ask yourself, what did you see and what was happening, such as Mr. Rodriguez when he was doing that coding, the initial coding. During the sense making stage, you try to consider how the pieces fit together and what stands out. That was when he interpreted how the pieces fit together. During the sense making stage, data may be organized in different ways based on such things as chronology, the people, the key events, the key issues, which was the case with Mr. Rodriguez, episodes, and things like that. Organizing units emerge from the data as they are grouped and sorted into themes. And hopefully, although that may sound a little bit complicated now, it would be taking like Mr. Rodriguez's information for what the students said and eventually coding them into this was looking for an extrinsic reward, this was looking for intrinsic reward, this was about active learning strategies, this was about real-world connections. And when he kind of determined those categories, he was able to label then what the students were saying, so that he had kind of a list then under those umbrellas of things of how that fit. Data interpretation and action research focuses on the implications or meanings that emerge from the analysis. It's used to help make the experiences being studied understandable, using description and conceptual frameworks or theories. And in this interpretive step, you ask how the patterns in the data inform your thinking and what the patterns might mean. Themes, metaphors, similes, typologies, and vignettes may emerge in this interpretation stage. Claims that you make based on your interpretations must be supported, though, by your data. We're going to look at that in a little bit more detail, in that you are the different ways that you might use to interpret that data that you've collected. But that would run over into another past our deadline or our timeline for YouTube, so we're going to stop here, and there'll be another video in a minute. Thank you.